Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Talk Scottish Football podcast. I'm not in the cheeriest of moods here. No. David, nice of you to join me again. It's not been a good week for the two of us.
I don't know. I've had a decent week. I know you got beat. But
yeah, but that's what I was trying to aim towards.
I was proved right with pretty much everything I said in the last podcast, so I've got bragging rights today, I think.
Well, we'll talk about that as it goes on. But we've got someone who's a lot happier with us today, Mr. SharpDiv. Nice of you to join us.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm good, mate.
Thanks for having me.
For your first appearance on the podcast, we thought we'd bring along a guest to
kind of sealed on podcast deadline day, last minute day.
Yep, exactly. We've done this.
You were in the huff. I thought we'll get someone who's a bit happier.
What time did we organise this? About 11 o'clock last night. I sent you
a
text.
That's what I was saying to the guys. I was going to go to a t-shirt company and get Ryan Kent's face on a t-shirt to surprise Ryan. With the quotes that he's a disgrace.
Yeah.
So I guess is that what we're going to start off?
We'll start with Rangers. We'll start with Rangers. Chronological order. So.
Where do we
Wednesday night? I feel like everything's like
Wednesday night.
Feels like that was last week. Do you know what I think? So Wednesday night, Rangers early kick-off away to Braga.
I mean, fair play.
You know, I think a lot of people, even probably the most sort of passionate Rangers fans, knew that even though they were a goal ahead, it was going to be a tough game to get through that. And I think, I'm going to say it now, I think that was probably one of Steven Gerrard's best games as Rangers manager.
Just the way they managed the whole game. A lot of people saying that is the best 90 minutes I've seen.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people would have questioned whether they were capable enough to go over there with a slender lead and hold it. You just get a clean sheet. I mean, Braga, nobody keeps a clean sheet against Braga this season, so you know.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough, but I always thought that we could go over there and get a goal, and it was proved right. To be honest, we broke through the high line so many times. Big chances for Canberra and Kent in the first 15-20 minutes, and then the penalty just before half time.
Yeah.
But it was one of those ones as well. The cup final was going through my mind with the amount of chances that we were creating. You're thinking, this is a quality side. We're talking about the top goal scorers in the Europa League this year. Couldn't defeat Wolves. Everybody dancing raves about them in English football.
Yeah.
Conceded 7 against them, and honestly, it was just some performance. And the first match at Ibrox, I noticed that the way that Steven Gerrard set up, were so narrow, so there was so much space for them down the wings. And if you look at the way their two goals came, they came through the middle. I thought they were extremely limited, down the wings, and I just thought he'd done the exact same kind of tactic in this game versus Braga, and it was vindicated. It was really good.
To me, it was really resemblant to the first leg of the Celtic Copenhagen game. You could have been 3-0 up by half time. You probably should have been 3-0 up by half time. No take getting away for the save for the goalkeeper on the penalty. It was a terrific
he was outstanding, by the way. That
really good save. I think
there's
not a lot of penalty saves that you can talk about that were as good in that in Europe, but. The chances Canberra missed as well. I think Rangers were unlucky in the first half, but I expected Braga to come out a completely different team in the second half. But that's fair play to Rangers. They nullified.
Especially when Rangers have those chances in the first half. You think maybe that was it, because I don't listen. Even at half time, I still thought there's no way Braga aren't scoring here. Surely not. What I will say though is I said that with Morelos, I thought he'll have a lot of joy over there. So losing him, I thought that'd be massive. But see, to be honest, I don't think they really missed him. In terms of the way they got in time and time again. Canberra did well. It's just everything seemed to go right for Rangers, and then obviously Edmondson at the back was just outstanding.
The Fridge, he's now being called.
I've seen that.
I'm loving that. Yes.
Is that his new name?
Oh, he's a man mountain. Have you seen his
biceps?
I've
seen him. I can understand why he's called the Fridge.
But what a contrast in performances from Katic at the weekend to that, just night and day, and Goldson as well. Every cross that came out in that box just seemed like to hit Goldson. Every single one.
I've been thinking about it a lot, and we've came under criticism, the centre-backs especially, for not being able to defend. They look at 6-7 schoolboy stuff at times, but when we have time to focus on a game plan where we are defensive, time and time again, in Europe especially, we've been good. Goldson was outstanding. Every ball that came into the box, even he's focusing on defending and we're deeper, it's shown that we actually have something about us. Katic as well, that's his bread and butter.
Yeah.
But it seems to be when there's space in behind, when Rangers are on the constant attack, that they can be exposed for pace, for not being good in the ball. But see, when it comes to just basic defending, when you're focusing on that, I think that we've been outstanding, especially in Europe.
The one thing we've got to touch on now is because the debate that we had last week, Ryan Kent. Fantastic finish for his goal. Let's be honest.
Here's the thing. Did you watch the game?
I watched the vast majority.
You had that big chance first half, and you were probably sitting there rubbing your hands saying, "I told you."
I was rubbing my hands at a few points because I'll say it now. Despite his goal, I didn't think his performance was that good.
Well, here's the thing.
Big moments.
But that's you this is the argument that we had was is the £7 million worth, and I said it's the biggest waste of money in the past 15 years in Scottish football. That was the quote that I gave. Yeah. I suppose what you pay £7 million for is moments like that. Step up in the big games. If you can take it was as cool as you like, some finish into the bottom
But
corner.
I mean, that's the thing. Like in the Old Firm games as well, you think. I mean, that's the games he's probably performed best for.
I know, and
Rangers.
that's, I guess
Clearly
that
a
kind
big game player.
of justifies the 7 million. It was a terrific goal, but I still feel like there was a chance in the game, and I can't remember, I think it was in the first half, and Kent was running down the wing, and there was 3 Rangers boys coming into the box. I think 2 of them were unmarked. All he has to do is put it in over the defender, cross it in. Somebody's got a chance and goal. But he
listen,
passes it to the first player, the Braga player.
I don't think anybody, like, I think everyone could understand kind of like, there's not even like a single Rangers fan who thinks Kent's been good this season over the piece. Everyone knows he's not performed to the levels he should have done. And I like, even when I was having that debate with you, it wasn't that I think Kent's had a good season. I just think that, especially wide players, you never, at a young age, consistency takes a time to come for wide players. The older they get, that's when that comes. So, listen, we know he's capable of moments like the goal on Wednesday, the way he's played against Rangers. It's just about the key is finding that consistency, and if he can do that, then...
Well, if he kicks on for this, that's a massive bonus for Rangers, because that's where they've been, I think, creatively.
It's a great word,
creatively.
Right? 10 points.
Creatively. I know. This is what happens. Every week we sit here and then my mind just, there's one word that I just can't get out. Creatively, I think that's been their area, especially out wide. If they could get that kind of ticking, Rangers would be in a lot better place in the league, I think. Because they've got the goals, they've got the strikers that can score. I think they've got fantastic centre mids at Rangers. I think out wide is where they've lacked the most. But if Kent can kick on for this, start playing consistently, chip in with goals like that, he still needs to create. He's still not got an assist there, but that's an argument for another day. But if he can add to that, if he could just add to that bit of the game, I think £7 million will be justified,
Listen,
like that.
I know, I love it.
I stick by it, and I said
the thing about wingers that you
week.
always notice, they always come under the most criticism.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they become the player that no matter what they do in the match, they're still criticised. I mean, look at James Forrest at Celtic, the exact example that I'm talking about. You just need to look at his goal involvements this season to show that he is actually doing alright. But the thing about a winger is they go in and out of games, 15-20 minutes, they look invisible. And they're also trying stuff that's hard, that everybody can do. They're dribbling at players, they're making it a 50-50 quite a lot of the time. And when they lose the ball, when it's not going good for them, they get absolutely caned.
But that's the thing, when you play wide, you've got to try these things.
You've got to,
even like Messi and Ronaldo will lose the ball in games. But the thing is, the higher quality of a winger, the more chance they are of making something happen. So, like, I think Rangers fans would be quite happy if Kent did, for 85 minutes of every game, lost the ball and stuff like that, trying to do the extravagant things, but then cuts inside and sticks one in the top corner. Ultimately, as long as he's still involved in a sort of positive aspect, and it's definitely a good thing. And I said before the game that I think he was needing a spell out of the team. Now, Wednesday night wasn't the time to do that. Gerrard's not stupid. You mentioned their high line. His pace was going to be crucial. With their high line, the amount of times he got in behind was just like, you couldn't take that out of the team. Like, for someone like Greg Stewart, who technically very good, but perhaps not as quick and as much of a threat in behind. So, yeah, maybe it's going to be one of those cases where he's just now going to play himself into form rather than maybe have a rest like people thought he might need.
So the question for me now is, right, Rangers season, as we know, up to this point, takeaway Europe has been, disappointing.
Well,
I wouldn't say it's a disaster. I wouldn't say it's abysmal. I think it's disappointing. The fact that they went into, we all know the story. Went into Christmas, good position, could have challenged for the title. Now it's kind of gone. For me, asking as a Rangers fan, you got that bit of fear after judging in European performances and then moving into other games after it? It looked good in the group stage, but obviously now, judging coming back from January, you got a bit of the fear that perhaps the cup could go the wrong way at Tynecastle at the weekend?
I think that we're suited for knockout competition. It's been shown. But what I would like to see is Gerrard change it up a little bit. I know that in this game we played defensively, we played counter-attack. I would like to see him try that a wee bit more domestically against teams like Hearts that are going to come flying at you. See, when you're focusing on defending, it becomes easier to defend. But I think a lot of the times when Rangers have been going at these big games, against Hearts, against Kilmarnock, they're constantly trying to attack. They're not really focusing on defending. But if you're able just to put a game plan up there where you are trying to defend and you're setting traps and you're giving teams like Hearts the ball for 20 minutes at a time, I think Rangers have got the quality to step in, take the ball, and we've now seen on the counter-attack be lethal, especially with Hadji now in the team. He can play that killer pass. He's only been in the team for 2 months, and he's already played some delicious passes. That one through to Kent there was brilliant.
Gerrard's got the tools he's got. I mean, like everyone said, there's a reason Rangers are so successful in Europe, especially away from home. Like that midfield three, no matter which combination of a three it is, you've got sort of tenacious, hard-working players in midfield who, maybe at times lack the creativity when you've got the ball for ages. But see, when you win it, like likes of Arfield, I know Kamara was rubbish last week, but Kamara's got.
I feel like that's how Jack always. I think
Jack
is
as well.
Jack is a big player
he's
for
a-
Rangers.
I
Yeah,
think-
See on
for me,
Saturday,
he's
if
Rangers' most important player.
Is it Saturday or Sunday? The game?
Saturday, I think. No,
Saturday
no,
night, I believe.
I think it is Saturday.
If
aye.
Rangers,
Should play
if Rangers
Wednesday,
have all the ball and stuff, it's going to be kind of easy for Hearts because the last game, Hearts, there's nothing really for Hearts to lose this weekend. The atmosphere will be up. They'll go for it, make it difficult for Rangers. But see if Rangers do what you said and just think, right, okay, have the ball, try and break us down. I don't think Hearts can break down Rangers. Not if they sit in. And if Rangers win it back with Kent, with Haji, with Morelos
I think it'll be completely
It's a
different for the
break,
game at
it'll be-
Tynecastle last month. I think it'll be very, very different.
Yeah.
But for Rangers, obviously the only of the two teams to go through to the last 16.
Really?
We'll come
Who
on
else
to
was in action this week?
Shut up. We'll come on to that in a moment. But how are you fancying it now? Last 16 draw will obviously be made a bit later on the day.
it's actually coming soon. Yeah,
Is it soon?
it might actually happen during recording, but
Oh,
the way
aye.
that they prolonged them
I know,
probably
like,
won't.
the rules and blah,
Do you know
blah,
what, Ryan? I think that it's a luckier draw. I think I spoke about this a wee bit. There's teams in there, like Inter Milan, that you just wouldn't fancy it
Bayer
against.
Leverkusen and stuff.
Bayer
like that.
Lever. There's a lot of teams, and it's just a luck of the draw. But there's also a number of teams in there that I think Rangers can fancy themselves against.
Aye.
Copenhagen have proved that there's no easy game.
Uh-huh.
You just cannot
You just don't-
underestimate.
aye,
You
exactly.
cannot underestimate a team who are at the top of the divisions and have been for a long time. So it's going to be difficult for Rangers, but it's a luckier draw and it's how you perform. And judging on the evidence so far, we've done really well.
So the one team I wanted Rangers to get the next round went out last night. I'd have loved Rangers to get Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
I can't believe they went out.
By the way-
I really would have done.
Rangers or Celtic. I think that
Yeah.
Rangers
Aye,
or
I would
Celtic
have
would
took
have
any
handled
English team.
We've said it. Yeah.
I would
any
have
English
took
team, and
any
I'm
English
not.
team.
See, honestly, I genuinely believe it.
I've always said that no matter, probably the same with Rangers, but obviously I'm coming from a Celtic fan point of view here. When Celtic draw an English team, they turn it up to the max. I think that's when Celtic play their best. They always want to prove the English wrong, and it's fantastic. And that's where we get a bit like the most recent example was Man City. Over the course of 2 games, City couldn't beat us, home and away. But obviously, we're not in the conversation talking about no easy games. I sat on this podcast last week and I said, at this point in time, I think Rangers will go out unluckily and Celtic will go through with ease. And now we sit here.
I did actually tip Rangers to go through in the end. I just want to
Yep,
get
you
that out
did.
there.
You did. Well
actually say
done.
that.
Well done. I said I wouldn't be surprised by it. I had confidence they could do it. I just seen Braga,
To be honest, I tipped
You
them
know.
and I was still surprised the way they performed.
but Celtic.
I think that was one of the most surprising things, the way that Rangers performed.
Yeah, it's like they
Because-
continued where they started an hour into the game
Absolutely.
last week.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the chances that Braga had, they had 2 headed opportunities.
Yeah.
One of them is straight down the middle. It's easy for McGregor to save, and then the other, the boy should score. But if you actually watch it, I think VAR would have chopped that out for a foul on Connor Goldson. So you've limited them to that, and you've dominated the match essentially with the big chances. So
Well,
it's been really good.
I love how we've prolonged it a little bit further into not bringing my pain into the situation.
Well, I mean,
but
we needed
let's-
to have a chat about Rangers that wasn't you just like greeting over there. So that's cool.
Well, I'm not going to just greet about it. We're going to.
Do you still believe that Ryan Kent is useless?
I think looking back,
180.
looking back on the podcast, I even said it last week.
No,
maybe
listen,
maybe
enough,
useless
enough. Yes
was a
or
bit
no?
harsh.
Yes or no?
Does it have to be to useless? Could I answer it in a
No,
different
because
way?
that's what you said, useless.
Well, I messaged Ryan after it because I watched the podcast
Aye,
and I
we
said
were
to him,
talking
you
about
can believe that he's useless, but you need to present it in a better way because David just owned you with the Shved comment.
Adam, exactly.
The
Thank
Shved
you,
comment,
thank you.
that was a high five for anybody.
I was proud of the Shved comment.
It
Actually.
was
I'm
delicious.
still waiting him to prove that he's worth the 7 million. Put it that way.
The Rangers have earned, I think, 7.2 million for this competition already, so that's
It's a lot of money.
that'll pile for him, eh?
Yeah. One wee thing I want to touch on for Rangers quickly before we move on to Celtic, because I know you're itching to talk about Celtic, Ryan. So last night, if Celtic,
Am I really?
if Celtic had got through last night, let's go back to the coefficient thing. That would have all but guaranteed 2 Champions League spots next season. So here, for me, is a little bit of extra motivation for Rangers now, because Rangers are going to need that second Champions League spot, I think. So I think from now on, this is pretty much their
Are
priority.
you
for me.
trying to say Celtic are going
If
to win
Cel-
10 in
if
a
Rangers have
row?
a league game on like on a Sunday before a Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gerrard prioritising the. Because if Rangers get through this next round, that should all but guarantee second place getting Champions League, and that'd be huge for Rangers, wouldn't it? So.
Absolutely, but I don't think that we can think about that just yet. I don't think we can start. I know that we will,
Probably
put
depends
a
on the
lot of
draw
effort
as
into
well,
it, but the way that the Rangers mindset, you need to win at all costs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Gerrard's come out, and whether he believes this in private or not, that we're still in the title race, he said that it's no over until it's over.
What's
So
interesting-
I still think the league and the Scottish Cup is the main concern. But I think we've proven as well, Rangers are really good when we're playing Thursday, Sunday. Like when we're given a rest, we just didn't come
That's
back
where
the
you
same
kind of-
teams.
you
I
fall-
think this
you
will
fall
benefit
asleep
us.
kind of thing, like you
Honestly,
forget
David, United, I think we can still play to a level and focus on all these competitions.
That's what I was going to say. Like, obviously, if Rangers go through, say they get to the quarterfinals of the competition, maybe the last 16's the last stop. Maybe they get through. We don't know yet. We don't know who they've drawn. It's hard to predict. For me, if Celtic say, and if you're looking at it from a point of view as this, and I'm not saying this will happen, I don't have a view on who's going to win the cup yet. I think we need to wait and see how things go after the weekend, blah, blah, blah. If Celtic go on and win a quadruple treble, and say Rangers get to the last 16 and knocked out, are Rangers fans overly happy about that? Should that be a
definitely
6?
not happy, but
No.
Because there's a lot of reaction last night. I think they have the right to sing and shout about getting through to the last 16 while Celtic getting knocked out. It's good to laugh at it at the time. Oh, aye. I think
every single Rangers fan would swap
great.
that for.
But that's because last night, if you judge off some of the reaction that I got last night on Twitter, no, they wouldn't they? Because they're going on about it as if there's no a 12-point gap, and there's nothing left yet to win here.
On Twitter who will just
I know. I think Twitter is Div. You've obviously voiced your opinions to me on Twitter many a times. Div's not a big fan of the people we find on Twitter, but I mean, they were all the same. There's people we just can't stand.
But no, I think Gerrard. I don't know what you think, Div, but I think Gerrard's probably there regardless of what happens from now in the season. He'll still be there. Unless there's a major collapse.
Yeah, and unless there's a major collapse, I think he will be. But I also think that the Scottish Cup is imperative. Yeah, honestly, like if we are not going to win the league, the objectives for Gerrard are quite simply, I believe, to win that Scottish Cup. Yeah. Maybe the Europa League success can shine a light off it a wee bit. I
think that's done that throughout the season so far, though.
It has.
I think that Rangers. I think Gerrard will be there no matter what. I don't think Rangers have if the objective is to stop 10 in a row, right. There is no time for change. Who's going to come in the space of one season?
Celtic done it.
Change it all.
Yeah, but the only way they're going to do it is.
I know we managed to do it. We brought in who was Wim Jansen. That's what we brought in Wim Jansen. Yeah. We managed to do it. Henrik Larsson was a big factor in that as well. That's all it does take, but. Is it worth the gamble, do you think? Would you rather... Would you look... Right, so say Celtic did win the 10 in a row, right?
I just think... Sorry to cut you off. I just think that they should just stop focusing on 9, on 10. Stop focusing on that, and that's half the battle. That's the problem. Rangers need to take a game at a time. Yeah, quite simply. You need to put in as much effort as you did against Braga, against the other teams, and you just need to take it one game at a time. And don't get ahead of yourself either, Ryan. You were saying that you were a wee bit overconfident going into this Copenhagen game. Don't start thinking about the 10s, I've heard some talking about getting to 55 and stuff like that before Rangers.
I think
honestly, just a game at a time. That's the way
That's probably what's maybe shot Rangers in the foot a little bit after the last Old Firm game, was maybe a few got a bit overexcited.
I think that's been the key thing.
If you take a game by a time, the titles and stuff take care of themselves.
I think that's been the key thing for Neil Lennon and how successful we've been since we came back for January, because obviously, the kind of debate that surrounded Lennon, the Celtic squad, are they not as good as Rangers, or Rangers actually going to present a challenge? I think Neil Lennon took a step back and went, right, ignore everything everybody's saying. We take this a game at a time, and that's how we've been battering teams. We've been scoring goals for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The statistic I brought up yesterday was the fact we've scored 82 goals so far this season. Last season we scored 77 by the end. Yeah. So it's just the fact. I think he's been taking a game at a time, looking at, and maybe that kind of last night was just maybe a bit of complacency did touch on.
Domestically, something I think that's been overshadowed is Celtic's progress under Neil Lennon.
Yeah.
I think that they've progressed immensely.
But see, if he wasn't Neil Lennon, he'd get the credit. I think it's because it's Neil Lennon he doesn't get the credit.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive Neil Lennon fan, but if Brendan Rodgers was still there, everyone would be raving about the improvement he's made in the team.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's Lennon, I think it goes under the radar.
No, I agree with you.
Just to quickly touch on a point you made about the Scottish Cup, I completely agree. It's massive because for Celtic, the one thing they've got is just used to winning trophies. It's absolutely a habit. So I think the Scottish Cup could be a massive thing just to get some silverware, to know what it's like to win a competition. Could be big to sort of leap into next season and take that forward. I feel like we've done Rangers for forever now.
Well, 20 minutes.
No,
so that's not that bad.
I really want to talk about last night because there was so much. Celtic Copenhagen. What was the final score? I forgot what the score was. What was it on the night? 3-1 on the night.
Ryan, you were there, so
you try to rub it in here.
What was it? Was it 3-1?
It was 3-1.
Aye, that's mental.
Right, what? Let's
4-2 on aggregate.
Where do I begin? I don't know. Where do I begin?
Let's Big Tyson already too.
Where do I genuinely begin with this?
I think you should start with team selection.
Right, team selection, honestly, right, so team comes out at 6 o'clock or something like that. It came out maybe closer to 7.
Aye.
First thing I say, and I look at the team and go, I said, was perfect.
Really?
I thought it was perfect, but I'll tell you why I thought it was perfect. Because I thought we were going to be playing the 3-5-2. I thought
Who
that
was
was
going
going
to
to
play
be
up?
Griffiths, though?
Who was going to play up front?
I thought it was El Yunusi and Edouard. We've done it before, so I thought it was going to be
I
that
just
again.
think without Griffiths in
I
the
know,
team sheet's
so-
not going to
so
be the
I
3
completely
5 2.
agree.
I thought perfect is maybe because I was like, all right, Griffiths on the bench. Maybe that's to do with the fact that he's carrying a bit of a knock because we obviously never travelled last week. Yes, he did start the weekend, but I was like, maybe that's took him a wee bit. Maybe it's understandable he's on the bench.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you know what? I can handle El Yunusi and Edouard up front because El Yunusi's a top player. We've raved about him all season. So I thought the team was perfect, and then the game starts, and you can see that the shape isn't quite what you expect.
Yeah.
And in the first half, it didn't really matter. We were, we were down 1-0. Quite early, early on. Was it early on the second half they took the lead?
Yeah. I don't remember.
It's kind of
That's a bit-
later on, was it?
was it-
Something like that.
I think it was like this.
Was it?
55th, 60th minute.
I
Something.
think it, 55
Aye,
minutes.
but anyway, going at half time, it was all right. We were getting away with things, but it wasn't how I expected the team shape to come. And it's confusing because the one thing that we've all been glorifying about Neil Lennon recently is how he's been spot on with the tactics.
Yeah.
So how in this game did we manage to?
I think he gave Copenhagen
up,
far
so-
too much respect, if I'm honest with you.
I
I don't think there was any need to
because
change what's been working domestically.
even going
last
into
night.
half time, things were, all right. I was like, do you know what? Right, we were the better team. I think Neil Lennon put it perfectly in his post-match press conference. He said, for the large parts of the game, we were the better side.
It's like the Cluj
But
game all
we-
over again.
aye.
isn't it?
Yeah, in what respect the better side though, because Copenhagen obviously
Aye,
created the biggest
obviously,
chances. There
right,
wasn't
aye,
a
but
lot of
it was just the
I
fact
think
that
if you look
chances.
at it, if they were the Scottish team, you'd say, right, they've
It
executed
was
the
the
game plan
fact-
perfectly.
Exactly.
looked-
The game plan for
looked-
Copenhagen is being
Sitting
also
in it.
overshadowed here. That was really
I
good.
know, aye,
It
but
was.
it's fair play to them because at the end of the day, they took us and beat us 3-1 with looked like ease. As the game went on, we just started to unravel. But up until half time, I looked at the Celtic side and went, right, it's fine. We're
Yeah,
going to come in the second half and get goals. And it just cut. And then we were hesitant to make changes. People were getting sloppy. Brown was sloppy in the ball.
Brown was
Siminovic
awful
was
last
sloppy. The whole back line was, apart from I think Greg Taylor, I'll give him a slight pass
Aye, he was
mark.
good,
I thought he
yeah.
was good last night. But even in the midfield, McGregor didn't seem like he was in the game.
Don't think Julian done much
Ro-
wrong.
he
didn't
I
do
think
much wrong,
he was
aye.
the best at the
But,
three
one
centre
thing about
halves.
Julian, though, I was going to ask you, how many times has Julian and Siminovic played together this season as a centre-half pairing?
Well,
You might not know the answer. It's not the answer's not what I'm looking for, but it won't have been. It won't have
it's
been
not.
much.
It's not. It's
So-
not. Well, since we started playing free, it's been a
For
bit.
then
there,
your
but-
biggest game in Europe, you go and put them. You change your centre-half pairing, and you change what's been working at home domestically.
But see, the thing is, on
I don't
paper,
get
right?
it.
I get what you're saying, right? But I don't think the intention was to have that as the centre half. Obviously, we've seen Ayer play down the right hand side in this game,
Yeah.
right? But for me, when I first seen it in paper, that wasn't what the intention was. I don't know who was
Yeah,
going.
but just
the
because
intention
that's
was
what
the
you
three
thought on
centre
paper,
halves.
Lennon
I know, no,
obviously had good
it didn't work. So I don't know why he has done it. In hindsight, now looking at it, I don't know why it was done. Before the game, I thought that was the ideal situation was having the three as the centre halves, but that wasn't the case. So I don't know why Lennon's went down that route and why he didn't bring Frimpong into the team to
He
play
didn't
on the
even need
right
to do
and
that. He
keep
just
Ayer.
needed to put Forrest as the.
And even Forrest,
I
Forrest or Frimpong.
I
One
thought
of the
Griffiths, when
two.
he came off the bench, looked really sharp.
The game was crying. It was the same as the second
I
half
agree.
last week. The game was crying out for Griffiths. We needed him. Edouard was so isolated up front. He was doing nothing. He was gone. This is the guy who we've been comparing to Henrik Larsson. And he was not in the game.
did
Henrik
look
Larsson.
right.
Henrik Larsson's the kind of player who, single-handedly would turn a European game on its head. And that's what you kind of want from Edouard, especially in a game like last night where it was still going forward. Yes, we dominated. This is the thing about Lennon saying that we were the better team. Yes, we dominated the ball. We had more of it.
But that should be
But
a
we
minimum
weren't making.
expectation.
We
though.
weren't making chances.
Yeah.
And that maybe comes down to the lack of the lack of ball that Edouard's seen. But if we're talking about a player who we're comparing with Henrik Larsson, then maybe we should be getting better out of him. I don't know what happened to him last night. I
Listen,
couldn't answer. I don't know what to say
I
about
don't
it.
think he was particularly poor last night.
That's the thing is me. I told you before
Yeah, I
this. I
agree
was
with that.
arguing with one of my pals at the game. He was going on about how Edouard's useless, get him off, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. He was raging at him, and I was saying, well, what's he meant to do?
Yeah.
The service is shocking. There was no one here to support him. The ball was rarely in
I
his.
mean,
his
the issue is that he has that massive
peripheral
chance
vision.
on half time. That header, 6 yards out, he's got to score that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's an awful lot of point in slaughtering a guy who scored that many goals for missing a chance, because ultimately,
Oh no.
for the amount he scored, it's not. I think Brown, you mentioned earlier, I thought he was hopeless last night, as he was last week. I think he must still be carrying a knock. I don't know what's wrong with him, because
It's
I think
very unusual.
We said it when
Very
when
unusual
I
for
made
Scott
the point the other day about how in some games I think Brown shouldn't play, and everyone was a bit like. I think last night was a perfect example. See, when you watch Celtic on Sunday, with McGregor playing that number 6, a deeper role, everything's quicker. He gets the ball, he moves it quicker. Brown takes too long to.
Also,
when he gets the ball, it
on
takes
that
too long
point
to
as
use
well,
it.
though, do you not think Celtic and I never thought we would miss him as much. We direly missed Ryan Christie last night. We needed them in the game.
I don't know.
I think Cham as well was a big
Cham
miss.
was the bigger miss, I think.
Do you think so? I
Yeah.
think it was more
I
Christie.
think it was.
And Cham is
Christie's a player's been in and out of team at the moment.
But the thing is with Christie,
Griffiths and Cham,
I think exactly what Edward needed behind him wasn't El Yunusi, wasn't
it
Tom
was Griffiths.
Rogic.
But then I thought Rogic did okay.
I mean,
last
Griffiths
night.
beside him would have helped as well. But
I
in
think
behind-
you've seen
in
the
behind
best
to help
out of-
unleash the play. I think Ryan Christie was exactly what we needed. I think we were missing him more than what we were missing in Cham. Because for me, if Brown and McGregor were in behind Ryan Christie, I think we would have got in behind that defence a lot more. I think we'd have created more chances. Yes, I think Cham brings a great dimension to the game, which is different from what Christie brings. But what we needed last night was creativity. What we needed was chances, which weren't made anywhere. But I think if Christie was there, we would have had them.
I think the biggest difference for me is that they didn't go with the two up top.
Yeah.
Because I think it's been proven in the last 2 months that that's when you're going to get the best out of Edouard. He's just absolutely on fire, and I think that's the pressure's been taken off him a wee bit there. I mean, we're talking about Edouard here, but as you said, he didn't have a bad game, but it's still all the spotlight's going towards him because it's so reliant on him.
Because it's
and see
his
when
name.
he was, strangled out the game essentially.
Aye. It feels like he was just... I feel like he was crying out for something to
It
happen.
wasn't necessarily
and it
his
just
fault
wasn't
because
there.
I agree with you. When Griffiths came on, I thought the game changed.
Yeah, it did,
The landscape
So we
changed, and
worked out-
when you
worked
get
out
the
getting a penalty.
equaliser, let's talk about that. Like what are
That's
Celtic
the
doing?
last-
A team with the experience of Celtic. Why have you not reverted
Same
back
noise.
into the 4, for example?
Right, but here's the thing.
and
See,
played
even
for
at
extra time.
0-0, Celtic are going through at 0-0. So, although they were trying to get the opening goal, they didn't need to chase
But do you know
the
what's
game.
annoying is,
Yeah,
right, and I'm
that's
not
true.
taking it away from Copenhagen here. I'm not making
Massive
excuses.
blunder though.
I'm not making
Yeah, it was
any excuses.
Simunovic, by the way,
Copenhagen came to Celtic Park with a plan and they executed it. They walked away into the last 16. And by the end of the game, with the way that Celtic fans feel about it, you'd think they cruised us. And to an extent, you could say they did because it was 3-1. We collapsed. But the goals didn't come from outstanding Copenhagen play. They
Celtic
came
shot
from
themselves in the foot.
stupid individual errors, which is the story of European knockout football for Celtic every single year. And you'd think by now we would have it sorted out. And I thought I had complete faith in that back line to sort that out.
But that's
no.
why I thought it was mental to change the defence up. Because when you're looking for a bit of stability and solidity at the back, especially in Europe, you go and change your defence. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But as I was saying, at 0-0 Celtic are going through. So while I get they wanted to get in front and stuff, if you go 1-0 in front, you're still just in as much danger, pretty much, the way the away goals rule, that if you concede, it's kind of like, it's almost like, what was the point of scoring? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I know they were trying to take the lead and stuff, but they chased the game and left themselves exposed, even when they went 1-0 up. That's what the goal is. I know Simunovic makes a howler, but they're caught with just Simunovic and Julian back in the first place. That should never happen.
It's not good enough, eh?
No.
I think Sevilla proved last night versus Cluj that would have been a great game plan. They won all away from home and then 0-0 at home.
Yeah.
If they pushed on, I think they could have potentially got a
The
goal
issue is
versus
if Celtic,
Cluj.
if Celtic tried to go for a 0-0 last night, that crowd would have been on them the whole game long.
Aye.
I mean, even at 0-0, Celtic was still going through, and you heard murmurs and moans from the crowd.
Let's
Keep
talk
going
about
through,
you're
man.
talking about the whole thing when we're down 1-0. Let's talk about the monumental collapse of the last 10 minutes. For the first time in my life, I got to experience a VAR decision. It was quite exciting, must admit.
Was that for the
It
For the
was
penalty?
For the penalty, it was quite an exhilarating
I don't know how
moment.
he needed VAR to see that.
Obviously, from my point of view, I sit at the other end of the stadium. For me, I couldn't.
The cheer was as loud as a goal. That's
Yeah.
what I noticed. That's
Aye.
the loudest cheer I've ever heard from a VAR
I think I
decision.
celebrated
It was like a
the
goal.
penalty decision more than the goal itself.
You're knackered, didn't you?
Aye, I was sitting there trying to keep my heart in pace, knocking the mic about. But no, right. So we get the penalty, score the penalty, 1-0. Honestly, at that point, I would have happily took it to extra time. How in the space of 90 seconds have they went up the park and scored again? What's happened there? I don't get it. Why is the team not just shut up shop? And I would have took it to extra time. I mean,
Over-exuberance.
at least the complacency is absolutely shocking. After you score, we all know that what does every single pundit, commentator, journalist, and that tell you? You're most vulnerable after you score a goal, and that was the perfect example of it last night. 1 minute we're sitting partying in the stands, next minute it's 2-1, and that's it. We need 2
Literal.
goals to go
You hadn't
through.
even finished the Edwards song and the guy put
know.
the ball
I
in
know.
it.
Unbelievable.
Celtic, I believe, just got a little bit overexcited, really. It's actually not a bad ball for me for Julian into Rogic. I think he needs to deal with that. But as soon as the Copenhagen player pounced on the ball, it's a simple pass to the right of Scott Brown, and it's a 4-on-3? A 4-on-3, I believe, yeah.
Aye.
And it's just too easy.
It's
They overload Kildges because, like, positionally it was fine, but obviously with the overlapping runner,
Aye.
he's through.
I know.
And it's a simple finish in there, and that's it, game over.
I know. For as much as we rant and rave about Forster, well, I do anyway. I don't know about yourself, but as much as I rant and rave about
Nothing he
Forster,
could have done.
No,
yeah,
like, people are having a go at him because it goes through his legs.
No,
like,
like, there's
what
not.
are you
There's,
gonna
I
do?
think,
Do about
no,
that.
that's
He's
what I'm
thrown
saying.
himself at it, like, it's
Yeah.
the defence's fault
Aye,
for
that's
sure.
not- I
For the
think
amount-
Forster
the
can't
amount
do
of times
anything.
he's got
No
some
shape.
jail this season, then just look at that cup final. I think
Yeah,
you can
you're
let him
clutching
off for like not being the hero. All
It's
the
just
time.
so bitterly disappointing because this is no disrespect to Copenhagen whatsoever, right? If we're talking about our greatest chance of heading forward around in knockout European football, this is the best chance we've been handed in years.
Absolutely.
And it'll be the best chance that we'll have for the next 5 years, I
Make no
guarantee
mistake
that.
about it. That was
Potentially.
Celtic had the easier draw there.
Oh,
I
aye.
don't care what anyone says.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
Rangers got through and Celtic didn't. But
No,
Celtic had the
no
easier
question
draw.
about it.
Yeah.
And that hats off to Rangers because they prove me wrong. They prove a lot of people wrong. And Celtic, who were favoured by everybody, you could say.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
even
right.
Rangers fans were confident Celtic would
Yeah,
get
I was
through.
confident that Celtic were going to do it.
And I don't know what happened. It was as I used the words already, a monumental collapse.
Yeah, I mean,
in
the
that last
defence-
10 minutes, especially when the third goal goes in, it just sums it. Flashbacks to Cluj when they beat us 4-3 at Parkhead.
He's finished it too, though.
It was it was done.
But
But
that's why I thought it was mental that they still were on the front foot because that second goal means so much more because of the away goals.
Absolutely.
So it's like just take 5-10 minutes just to calm down. Don't get overexposed that early after scoring. It's mental. I want to talk about Celtic defence though because you said to me 3 weeks ago maybe this was the first time in years you'd had complete confidence in a Celtic back
I think
line.
that was one of the first podcasts we might have done.
Yeah.
Aye.
And I've said all season long that I think Julian and Ayer are both suspects, especially when you try and rough them up and you try and I thought Ayer last night was pretty poor. Simunovic, yeah, but Julian was fine last night. But I still think you can get at him. See, like the big boy in Doy, even when Julian was winning fouls off him and stuff, you could tell he wasn't liking it. He doesn't like the battle at all. Like, and see when things are tough and you need. This is why I think what Goldson's really good at. Goldson is a big fucking physical lad. He likes that. Like, do you know what I mean? And, like, I'm not sure that Celtic could have done what Rangers did in Braga, where you sit behind the ball and you just try and not try and defend, but you're taking long balls, crossing the box, and that's your objective is to defend him. I don't think Celtic could do that. If I'm honest with you. Julian's better. I think Julian's a better defender than Goldson, but in that specific situation, I think Rangers' backline is kind of a bit.
The reality is very simple. They're so hit and miss. It's unbelievable. They are, and they've proven it. And I still stand by and say, look,
how much was Julian? What was it, £7 million? You can't be inconsistent
see-
for that price.
See, to be fair to Julian, I don't think he's as
No,
liable.
No,
Absolutely
Do you
not.
not think? I think
He's not as liable. I'm saying.
Oh,
not
right, I thought you
reliable.
said-
Yeah,
I thought you said reliable.
He was
Okay,
probably
right.
the best of the centre
Right.
halves.
Oh no,
He played last night,
he
but-
was definitely. For me, my point is completely vanished from my head now, so I'm going to try and word it in a way that gets me back to it. It's just.
Do you want me to
it's
save
just
you with my point now?
I on you go because
I think-
I had something, then David jumped in with something,
Yeah.
and it's just completely vanished now.
Hey, you're just digging a bigger hole, right? Come on.
know.
I think both defences can be gotten at, but in different ways.
Yeah, you're completely right.
I think Celtic are much more accomplished on the ball. I mean, Ayer's a reverted centre midfielder.
No,
When
he
he
started
steps
his
in
career
with the
as a
ball,
striker,
he's
for God's
so
sake.
comfortable.
Yeah.
And the same with Julian, he's very good with the ball at his feet. And Rangers are, also they can be gotten at, but I think they're exposed more for being.
My
But
points
they're
came
more
back,
old fashioned,
yeah.
absolutely. And I agree with you, David, that Rangers are more suited for me when they do a game plan like the one they did in
Yeah.
Braga. They sit back. One that comes to mind as well was in the qualifiers last year, FC Ufa. It was very early into the partnership of Katic and Goldson, and they headed away absolutely everything because they were pinned back in
Hollander
the
as well
box.
is brilliant at that.
Hollander is,
Wins
yeah.
everything, like.
And it's obviously the type of centre back the Rangers have went for, all four of them. I like that, and it's obviously the type of centre back Celtic have
My
went for.
point is
Technical
quickly came back to my head. I stand by my comment and saying it's the most faith I've had in my back line at Celtic in years. I'm not going to change my mind on that because I'll tell you this: the defences that we have seen up until this point have been worse than what this is for
Yeah,
hitting
like,
this
that's why
situation.
Celtic have struggled.
Van Dijk and Denial were poor, to be fair.
Even at that, Van Dijk and
What
Denial.
happened to
Did Van
them?
Dijk Denial?
Any idea?
They didn't play that long together, did they? It was maybe a season at most. I think they
They
played.
weren't- what did they do in Europe? Really, was that the
The
year
nothing.
we're
We
into?
got, that was the year
Honestly.
that we got battered. Van Dijk's first season in the Champions League was the year that we had Barcelona again in the group. But
Just
we
a quick
never-
real side
but they'll
story.
beat them
I was one of my a cousin of mine. He's a Celtic fan. He shared a status he'd put on Facebook. I think it was when Van Dijk and Denier were there, and he was saying something like all these Celtic fans slagging off Van Dijk, load of rubbish. Just watch where he is in 5 years. And then all the comments were, he's bloody hopeless. He can't do this, that, and the next thing. He's never going to go anywhere. And it's like now he's the best defender on the
That's,
planet.
that's a ridiculous cry to say. Would have been
That's going to happen with Jack Henry one day, and you're going to have egg in your face.
Oh, by the way.
There's more chance of Jack Henry becoming, I don't know, a swimsuit model rather than
I don't know. I
a
think Henry would
footballer
have
of
done a job
higher
last night.
level.
You don't
No.
think Henry would have done a job last night?
Don't even start.
Any
me.
worse than Simunovic was?
Look, Ayer's problem is that he gets far too overexcited in the situation,
Yeah.
and it leaves himself especially in the bigger games. This is the thing. Week in, week out, Ayer and Julian's
Simonovic has got to be like the spotlight on him with this. To be fair, I feel it's a bit harsh on Ayer.
We'll come to Simonovic in a minute. I'm going through them one by one here. I'm going through them one by one. Ayer's problem is he gets far too overexcited. He's far too rash, and he makes errors that might not even look. His errors might not even be directly involving him, say, giving away a stupid foul. It could be literally the wrong direction of him running, and that's him, buggered something up. I think Julian is very hard to follow. I think he's improved big time. The only thing is that you've brought up, I don't think he necessarily likes the physicality, but I still think he handles it well. I think there's a couple of players who this year, yes, have shown that he can't, but I think people pick out the situations, the 2 or 3 times where he has been, and forget about the games where he's been fine. And then Simonovic is, I don't even know where to start with Simonovic, because Simonovic's a player who has been so, on and off since he came to Celtic.
That's why I think it's mental to put him in.
He's came to Celtic, he looked good, he got injured, he came back, he was hopeless, got injured again, came back, he was quite good, got injured again, came into the team, done a job, was useless again, now he's back in the team. He's had such a weird run at Celtic that I can never pinpoint if I like him, if he should be there, or if he should be replaced.
Actually, the more I think about it, we said earlier on, why did Frimpong not play and they go to a back 3? Why did Frimpong not play if they were going to be a 4?
Back 4.
That doesn't make
I think honestly, the only thing that I can think of for the explanation to Ayer playing at right back was the 45 minutes he played there against Aberdeen. That's it. And even again, and you can't compare Aberdeen with Copenhagen, so I don't know what Lennon was thinking.
Everything is always better in retrospect as well. I think a lot of Celtic fans would have been happy with the lineup, and I think
I was perfectly
absolutely,
happy with
and I think that Celtic lineup should have been good enough to beat Copenhagen for sure. I can see where Lennon's come from with the starting lineup, but I think they should have just been good enough.
It was typical European Celtic. It's the hope that kills you. The hope
you said that in your video last night, and that's really annoyed me when you said that.
How?
The hope that kills you.
You should be handling Copenhagen.
You're about to win 9 league titles in a row.
Right, aye, but
do you know what it's like to support a team?
I've said this walking at the
state. The hope that kills you, man. That's done my head in. How many domestic trophies have you won in a row now?
Right.
10.
Right.
The hope kills you.
Hold on. What I said to when I was walking out the stadium, the exact quote that left my mouth is, right, if we go on and win a quadruple treble here, then what are we going to look back in this and still complain?
Imagine if we don't win a quadruple treble. Life is so hard.
You are so bitter for a Dunfermline.
I think it's probably just so annoying for Celtic because they probably overachieved in the groups and have massively underachieved in the knockouts here.
As I said as well last night, I went to Rome for this. I paid good money to go to Rome to watch us get popped out at the hands of Copenhagen at Celtic Park.
You went to Rome expecting you to get beat. So
I was expecting to leave that stadium 4-0 losers, and we went. I had arguably the best day of my life, right? But it's the fact that we come over here, and I understand completely where you're coming from, David, right? Obviously, me and David were spoilt in the sense that maybe not over the last 10 years, David, but you know exactly what I mean. We're spoilt. We've seen so much success as Celtic and Rangers fans that you just feel like we don't have a right to cry when something like this happens. But in European football, Celtic have made great strides under Neil Lennon, right? This year we've made great strides. We've shown, I think his European performances have been turned up another level from what they were under Brendan Rodgers. Yeah. But the expectation year upon year is to build what you've done the year before. There's got to be some sort. I think that's what I'm saying. The hope kills you, because this is the hope I had after that group stage. The hope I had after the result last week was surely we'll be going through.
Did you genuinely believe you could get to the final?
Oh no. No.
So what were you hoping for then?
At least last 16 quarterfinals.
Right.
We were hoping to make progress. I think we can't look at it every year and say, the last... Look, I think Celtic have shown over the past 4 years that Europa League is our level. We're not a Champions League team. We're a Champions League club. We're not a Champions League team.
Yeah,
I think you could be if you showed a wee bit more ambition.
I don't think... No, I think football's at the point now where neither Celtic or Rangers
if you look at... You spoke about me not experiencing much success, obviously. When we were in the lower divisions, Celtic stagnated in Europe immensely. Yeah. I think he's qualified once legitimately for the Champions League. The other time was because he's an ineligible player. That's just not good enough for me.
But I've always argued this point. This is even since the year. What year did Bale go to Real Madrid? 2014 was it? He went to Real Madrid. But I just want this sticker of time.
Thereabouts. Yeah.
So 2014, football has changed drastically. Even in the space of 6 years, it's completely different now. Celtic, even in that 6 years, have dropped from being what should have been a champion. Back then, we should have been a Champions League team. Now, if we get to the Champions League, fantastic, and I think that's what we should aim for. But Europa League is our level, so I at least want to see progress in the Europa League.
That are in the Champions League that have probably smaller budgets than Celtic and don't have...
I think there might be one or two.
But
Who-
then
Red
Dev's
Star
point is a
Belgrade and
great
somebody
one, 'cause
else.
It's not a coincidence that the fact that Rangers are now competing again in the league has meant that both sides are now doing better in Europe. That's not coincidence. See, if like I remember when we were growing up watching football, like when Celtic were playing like AC Milan and stuff, Rangers were going to UEFA Cup finals. They were both fighting for league titles every year. They made each other better. But the period the Rangers were out of the league, it was like Celtic like, right, we'll do the minimum to win the league title, because they didn't even win trebles or anything like that. They were just doing the minimum.
But you tell me in the Champions League group stages this year, right? I'll agree with you in the point that there is a couple of teams who probably have a smaller budget. Celtic. The one that comes to my mind is Red Star Belgrade, and who was the other team? I had them in my head a minute ago and I've just slipped. There's a couple of teams in there who definitely have a smaller budget than Celtic. But how many of these teams year upon year that have a smaller budget than Celtic make an impact in that Champions League and they just finish fourth for the group? That is Celtic's level.
I like your point, Ryan, because I think you're kind of going towards the point of like European football becoming like an elite. It's like elitism
right.
because of money. I'll bring up
top
Ajax, for example. I think they spent €12 million or whatever on their way to the semi-finals. I think should have won the Champions League. But to go back to your point, they just get picked apart, didn't they? See, when they do this, that's what I hate about the game. It's almost like it's becoming two different games now.
Yeah.
It's like elite football and then it's the rest.
But you hear all those rumours that they want to make like a league, not just like a
That's
proper-
trash, honestly.
No.
But that's why
Honestly.
I can't
Tragic
be
stuff.
bothered with it. Like, see, I said last week, I said on here that when the cup replays were on Kelly Aberdeen and that, I'd rather watch that than the Champions League because
Oh,
like,
by the way,
they're trying to sanitize football so much. It's
Yep.
like they want to have like the NFL in America, like a completely different.
Or the
entity.
NBA, that's
Yeah.
exactly the way I
why
see
do you think they're making a
Money.
Europa League 2?
money.
Why do you think
well,
money?
yeah.
And also because it gives them a my view on it is this: it gives them an excuse to. So see when the Champions League's filled with all these elite
They
clubs.
need to change that name by the way, the
Okay.
Champions League.
Elite League guy, money
but
league.
See when all these teams in the Champions League and clubs like Celtic are complaining they can't get in it because of that. Well, they have an excuse to turn and say, well, you've got two other competitions there, not even just one. No, you've got two. There's two European competitions. Even though this one will mean zilch, I couldn't even imagine celebrating winning the Europa League 2. I think it'd be great for a club like Aberdeen, but for Celtic, if we win Europa League 2, is there something to shout about? No. And you look at the names of the clubs that should be in that competition. Celtic aren't one of them, but if we were winning it, it wouldn't be something to celebrate.
Celtic, I think, on winning the Scottish Premier League should go straight into the group stages,
I-
or at
I-
least
I
one
completely agree with
qualifier. You've got teams that are finishing fourth in leagues and they're going straight into the
Spot
Champions
on.
League. I agree with you, David.
Spot on.
That should be changed,
But I put
honestly.
up a tweet earlier in this, I think it was August, I put up a tweet. And it was one of the ones that kind of, it banged. So I put up a tweet in about August and it was one of the ones that kind of, blows up a wee bit. It gets a wee bit of exposure for your normal day-to-day tweet. And it was a photo of the map of European champions. And it was, there was Dundalk, Ireland, Celtic, Man City, blah, blah, blah. And I put up, that's the Champions League. That should be the Champions League right there. And people are arguing in the comments, oh, aye, that's what I want to watch, Dundalk versus Barcelona in Champions. That's not the point. You look at how it used to work.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like Dundalk would face Barcelona. There was a structure to it. And also, if you're telling me that teams like Dundalk, when they make enough money to at least put together a better team and help their league as well at the same time, it should be that.
That's the reason why back in the day teams like Dundee United and Aberdeen were in Europe winning trophies. Like that's never going to happen now. Like,
And that was massive. See, when you won the Cup Winners' Cup, or you won
Yeah.
the UEFA Cup back in like the 70s and the 80s and stuff, that was absolutely huge because, like, for example, let's use Liverpool. They went on to win, I think, 2 back-to-back Champions Leagues or European Cups, but the year before they done that, they won the Cup Winners' Cup.
Aye.
And arguably they were the best team in England
here's that.
at that time. So there was such a level within that competition where if you won that, it meant something.
That was
and now it doesn't mean as much.
Here's
Like the team that won the Cup Winners' Cup would a lot of the time would be winning their league next year or
Yeah.
winning the
Or
European
the
Cup
European
next
Cup.
year.
Here's a story for
Exactly.
you. Here's a story. What are the chances in the modern day of football for a manager to go from Aberdeen to Manchester United? What are the chances?
Yeah, I mean-
Zero. Never
But
going
it
to
just
happen.
comes back to
But
the point of they're trying
Alec-
to separate.
Alec Ferguson wins the Cup Winners' Cup with Aberdeen. It goes on to get the Man United job. Man United then go into 26 years of dominating the game, all because he proved he could do it at Aberdeen. Now, it's never going to happen. And who knows, maybe like, don't want to big up Derek McInnes on such a level, but maybe maybe if Derek McInnes had that chance, he could go on and do something. We'll never know because the
we're
chance will
moving
never
on
happen. Maybe. I mean, it's not going to, but...
Can I just make a final last point on this? I had
Derek
a
McInnes going to Man United. is all I
No,
can think about.
absolutely not. I'll make it a better point, hopefully. No, what I absolutely hate
Thanks,
about
a
the way
bad
that
point.
money is, in my eyes, like ruining football to a certain extent, is because let's look at Manchester United, for example, right? Over the last 150 years or so, there's people in positions of power at that club that have made vital decisions that have led to success. For example, Sir Alex Ferguson.
Aye.
You've got Manchester City, on the other hand, they could have signed Sir Alex Ferguson as manager. Somebody could have made that decision. But in the last decade, because of money that's been absolutely pumped into them, they're able to absolutely eclipse clubs like Manchester United, and you know what I'm saying?
It's almost irrelevant.
It's done in a decade with money rather than
what was it,
over
4 years
150
till Sir
years.
Alex won his first title at Man United.
6.
Oh, was it that long? Right,
6
but
years.
that they had to get that right at the time. But see now, like if City get a manager and after Guardiola and he's hopeless, they can punt him in 6 months, and because they've got the money now, it doesn't make a difference. Like, it's just. Anyway, that's like a whole topic for another.
Absolutely.
Video. Anything else on the Celtic game you want to discuss? Actually, one thing we do need to discuss.
There you go.
You see the Copenhagen player.
You said that was that is
charged.
outrageous.
And
a member of the staff. I
yeah.
remember of the coaching team.
Bonkers.
That is
see if that was Odson Edward running off the pitch celebrating with the Celtic fans, would a Polish had tried to rugby tackle him like that? Not
Exactly.
that hope, man. That guy's a
And then he
His job's worth that
He
police
gets
guy.
bundled over, but like, there's no way the guy's going to like shove him over. It's just like because he's put himself in. Nuts.
It's like I don't
absolutely
think
embarrassing,
that the Polish can even imagine a scenario close to scoring a goal like that in a European game of football. This is what's always annoyed me. It's the same way, when somebody gets sent off after celebrating a 90th minute goal, I think it's all harsh, and this is even worse because this is genuinely a police matter now.
I could totally understand that
over a goal in football.
See if the guy was running towards the Celtic fans, I could kind of understand it, but like he's got to celebrate with his own fans.
I'd also understand it if he genuinely had intent behind him to hurt a police officer. If he ran there and give him a good old crack, then maybe perhaps.
But it'll be interesting to see what the fallout is from that. But
Maybe if he stole his hat, it'd have been alright.
I know, because you're allowed to do that if you play for Celtic.
Is this it now? Is this what we're playing? Are we playing the Celtic?
No, it's just a wee joke.
Like
it's nothing to do with Celtic. Honestly, the
there's-
decision's made by that police guy, isn't it?
I don't know if there's much more to touch upon on the Celtic game. What annoyed me was the fact that we handed our best chance in years and we absolutely bottled it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to lead to. I feel like Celtic fans are very guilty of becoming toxic after situations like this, and that has been evident so far. I think that we went down 2-1. It started with fans packing out the stadium, and then the Twitter aftermath. When you look on there, Jesus God Almighty, everybody's
What was
fighting
Paul
amongst
Tim
each
saying
other.
last night?
I don't actually know what Paul's saying.
He's in bed with Paul Slane again.
Maybe. I don't know. Perhaps he is, perhaps he's not. But it becomes a very, very toxic thing at times, and it's annoying. Look, at the end of the day, our season, if you told us at the start of the season that we'd be on a double, we would head to the last 32 again, and 12 points clear, and well on our way to perhaps winning another treble, no one would have batted an eyelid. But because of the situation of it being a team like Copenhagen, it's turned into a very toxic thing. And hopefully it'll be a matter of, get through the cup on Sunday, continue your dominance in the league, and then it'll be forgotten about. But on the other side of the city, Rangers, big job in the last 16. We'll see the draw soon.
Finally,
fair play to
who
them.
do you want?
I'll take any of them, to be honest. I think that
the last 16 is a great achievement anyway.
Absolutely.
I think you should be really proud
on
of
your
getting to that
day, you
point.
could. I'd fancy any of them, to be fair.
you said-
It's a hard task to beat any of them, but on your day, you can fancy any of them, apart from Inter Milan.
Inter
Can we stay
Milan-
clear of them?
Inter Milan and maybe even Roma are the two that you probably want to
Bayer
avoid.
Leverkusen
But-
for me.
but
That's
see,
why I
even
miss
them,
Bayer
I think
There's
Leverkusen.
some
Something
tough
Rangers could
ties
do
in there,
something,
honestly.
though.
I think Bayer Leverkusen have got players like Havertz over the pitch. That's just a step beyond.
Yeah.
But if Rangers get anyone of like Frankfurt or Salzburg, even like
Copenhagen,
Copenhagen,
Getafe.
Getafe.
Well, I'll tell you what though, Salzburg. Right, Salzburg. I know obviously have just lost their two best players, which I think that makes it favourable for Rangers.
And we talk about other clubs rinsing other
But
clubs.
it just goes back to
Might
Rangers,
have no chance.
Rangers what they've done against Porto and Braga. They shouldn't feel.
But
anybody
last year,
after
I'll
that
just quickly touch up on Salzburg. Last year, I would argue, I think that they're the best team I've seen us play in Europe in a long, long time.
Their manager was linked with the Celtic job, is he not after?
Marco Rose now is
Yeah.
the Gladbach manager, and
Yeah.
they're flying. So
Outstanding team.
yep, and
But they've been rinsed.
how things could have been. I'm
Right,
happy
anyway,
with
let's
any.
move on to
I'm
the best
happy.
cup competition in world football, Scottish Cup
Hey.
weekend.
Agreed.
What are we at? Oh, so we've got a game tonight. Hibs Inverness kicks off tonight.
BBC, that?
Yeah, it'll be live on. Well, it's not going to be on Premier Sports, is it? Like, let's be honest. I saw obviously Inverness on Tuesday night beat them Fairmont 2-1.
How
That
was it?
fun.
You don't even tell us about your quickly going. It was your first game in what?
What was it? 24 days since we
24
last played.
days,
32
and
days
you
since
were
we last played at
bitterly
home.
disappointed.
I wasn't bitterly disappointed at
Are you
all.
not?
Don't put words in my mouth. Listen, the Fairmont played really well. if I'm honest. They played really well. I think even John Robertson said that post-match they were probably the better
I just
side.
imagined you would be a bit like disappointed.
No,
about
it
cold
wasn't.
Tuesday night defeat.
It was like the performance was fine. It wasn't like, and we had so many chances, man. Like Nisbet had a header, like 6 yards out, free header. If you had to put like, he's up there with like the top players in the country just now. You'd put to score that goal, and he somehow missed it. The boy Afolabi from Celtic played up front. He was brilliant. There was just lots to be positive about despite the result, and we've got Dundee United on Saturday, which is tough.
That's winnable, honestly. The way that Dundee United are playing at the moment.
It's not. Oh my God, Dunfermline haven't beat Dundee United at home. I don't even think in my lifetime.
Really?
Honestly, it's horrific. It's horrific, this record.
Well, maybe this is the time to turn it round.
I think it could be.
Yeah, I mean,
They've took
Inverness.
their foot off the gas.
They have. They've been hopeless, Dundee United. But the thing is, they're so far ahead now. They've literally been rubbish for about a month now, and
they've
not
got away
really
with it.
different.
I know they're still away with it.
Inverness got the job done. I think they rested a few for Friday. They had Friday in mind. Hibs at home. Listen, I've tipped Hibs for 3rd place in the league. I think Hibs are a really decent side. It's going to be a tough one, though. John Robertson's team are really well drilled. Inverness are going to make it difficult for them, but I think at home I'd probably fancy Hibs for that one.
Well, Dev knows my opinions on Hibs quite well.
I love them.
Aye, that's it. I'm a left-hand side of me supporter. Hibs are going to go through. I don't see... Inverness, fair play to them because they're one of the top teams in the Championship. They're doing well. But so they're sitting second right now?
They are sitting
after
second,
the result,
yeah.
yep.
They had a great Tuesday night was great for them because Ayr got beat off Morton, so they went further in front.
So, I mean, Inverness, they could provide a shock. But once again, Hibs are the kind of team that, I've touched on their inconsistency in the league, but for a cup competition, they have the players, they've got the goal scorers. We talk about Doidge every week. We talk about McNulty as well.
Docherty, who, by the way,
he's been outstanding. He's getting better game to game.
He's definitely going to be in the Rangers team.
Do you think he should?
Think so?
Do you think he should be?
I don't know.
I think he's going to be good enough to be a squad player.
I would love to see him back in the squad, but I just think Steven Gerrard makes up his mind on somebody. I think that's it, mate.
I think so.
Yep, and the way that Canberra's playing now as well, there could be a wee deal done there.
I
like Doc, I really do, because I know he does a lot of work out with football. You just look at the condition of the guy. He's not a PT, no, I don't believe. Well, he probably has his licence or whatever, but I don't think he does PT on the side.
He definitely keeps himself fit.
I think he does PT, as in he's trained and he keeps himself fit. I mean, just look at the condition of the guy. He wants to go to the very top, and I love that about him. So, you know what? I'm not going to count him out if he come back to Rangers because his performances have been outstanding so far, but I just don't see it happening.
No, padding his stats well, isn't he? Because
and potentially, if he keeps up these performances, he might go to a bigger club than Hibs. I don't know if Hibs might not be able to afford them if he keeps up these sort of performances.
I don't see him heading off to Celtic. And if he's not getting a chance at Rangers, then maybe down south is the option.
That boy Scott Allen's decent. Celtic should look at him, like I'm telling you. But no, I think Hibs. Yeah, I'd probably fancy Hibs.
So just correct me if I'm wrong. This is the quarterfinals.
Yes. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the sixth round.
Oh,
why are they doing that? I don't know.
It's doing my head in though.
They're in the FA Cup as well.
Why? It's
I
the
don't know.
quarterfinals.
I don't know.
It's changing traditions
I don't even get
again.
why they're trying. Like, I don't get the logical reason of doing it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, the game I'm really interested in this weekend is St Mirren Aberdeen because Saints have done really well recently, especially against Motherwell. I think we tipped 3 times in the bounce Motherwell to beat St Mirren.
Yep.
And 3 times they made a bit of an arse of it. Aberdeen, we know how hit and miss they are. I think the Scottish Cup is absolutely huge with Derek McInnes this season. I think Aberdeen fans want to win it. Like, they really think they should win it. Do you know what I mean? It's mental, the Aberdeen fans, like, they still theoretically they could finish 3rd, but like I don't even think they're going to be satisfied with that.
I've said it, I think it was maybe the second episode of this. They've got such a sense of entitlement over Aberdeen that they should be the 3rd play, and they probably should, right? But they do expect, they've got high expectations year in, year out, and maybe that is just because of how they've been over the last sort of since Rangers were liquidated and such 2012 onwards. Aberdeen were the kind of second team, and maybe it's just the attitudes that they've picked up from those years. But I mean, I don't see a cup win. If they get to the semi-finals and finish 3rd, I don't see why they should be too disheartened by that.
I think it's often overlooked. Like year on year, McInnes has to build another team. He loses his best players
absolutely.
Year on year. I wouldn't be surprised if Cosgrove leaves in the summer. Quite honestly, they lost Shinnie, they lost Gary Mackay-Stevens, and he's brought in some good signings. Dylan McGee, he's still trying to find his feet.
Yeah. This is nice and fresh because we speak about McInnes every week. Your views have been perfectly,
Aberdeen fans are just desperate for something fresh, though. That's what
I agree. I don't think that his time up there is going to last much longer.
No,
but at the same time, I do feel sorry for him to a certain extent because he is continuously trying to rebuild this team. But when you do look at budgets, he should
so
be
hard
finishing
to
third.
predict
To
how
be
much
quite
There's no
longer
way
honest,
you
be
could
there.
justify getting rid of him though. I mean, they still could finish third and
he's
I know,
untouchable up there. He's not getting sacked.
especially because they've got the
He'll
plans of
leave.
the new stadium and stuff coming in. I think they want him to be the guy that takes it over. But the Aberdeen fans, it's almost like they're just desperate for a new face. But sometimes, like, the grass isn't always greener. Like sometimes maybe, I mean, Aberdeen could. I said this a couple weeks ago. If Aberdeen get rid of Derek McInnes, who are they going to get in realistically that is going to be better than McInnes? That isn't going to be a massive gamble in the first place.
One name comes to mind.
Gordon Strachan.
Mark McGee.
Mark McGee. Yeah, Gordon Strachan, by the way.
I think if Gordon Strachan wanted to get back into management, he'd be
Dundee, because McPake surely
he's
in
sitting there in
a
the stands
tight
every
rope.
week, and if he really wanted to get back into management just now, I think he'd
Click his fingers and McPake would be gone.
Yeah, I think so.
They would.
I don't think he's going to do club management again. I don't think. Like, once you've done the Scotland job at that age, I don't really.
I think he's in that role now where it will be director stuff and punditry and all the rest of it.
He's good in the
Probably,
telly as well,
it's a good laugh.
Time to time, he's good
questionable
in the
character,
telly.
but
but I fancy St Mirren now.
I do as well. I think it'll be a fascinating game to actually go to.
You know,
It'll be a good game to be
it's a really tough call because I'm really splitting this one. I fancy St Mirren because I feel like they've been so hard working all season, and I feel like it's these kind of games. It's kind of like, right, this can mean so much to the club, and they really go for it. But on the other hand, Aberdeen, as you've said, the fans are expecting something from this cup, so they've got to give that to the fans. So it's a real 50-50 for me. I think I'm swaying towards Aberdeen, but I'm not counting out St Mirren completely. I think they've got a really fair chance of beating Aberdeen, but I'm going to be more on the Aberdeen side of things.
Yeah, and then the last two games, Celtic and Rangers, we'll touch on them briefly because we've done so much Celtic and Rangers chat today. Hearts, Rangers, tomorrow, 5:30 kick-off.
The return to Tynecastle.
I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I expect Hearts to come out all guns blazing, and if Rangers do what I said earlier, just sit back and force the same game plan as Braga, hit them on the counter-attack. I think there's going to be gaps at the back for Rangers to exploit. I think I predicted 4-2, but I'm going to change it to 4-1. Just based off that Braga performance.
Hearts are absolutely hopeless, and I had a bit of a rant last week about how I'm fed up talking about them. But they're hopeless. But I still think I still don't think this is going to be easy for Rangers, just because it's Hearts and Tynecastle, and it's kind of like Hearts fans now, all they care about is staying up. So Steindel's kind of got a bit of a free hit, I think, here. I still fancy Rangers. I think Gerrard will have learned from the mistakes of the last game at Tynecastle, and I think, as you said earlier on, the cup is so important now for Rangers that I can't see anything other than a Rangers victory.
Morelos will be back in as well.
Yeah,
with
right.
Canberra being cup tied.
And
I did think, do you know what? Pick the exact same team.
Yeah.
And Morelos, do you see work his way back in? But obviously Canberra's cup tied.
I think the fact that Canberra's done so well will probably help Morelos, because now he's got a bit of competition. Because with Defoe being out, it was like it had to be Morelos. So now he's got a little bit of competition. That there's no guarantees. I think you're right. I think if Canberra was available, I think Gerrard might have been the best thing he could have done to play Canberra. Yeah. Just to give Morelos a wee boot out the back.
It also shows the players, see if you come in and you do as I ask and you put in everything and you get the result, you're rewarded by it.
Yeah. And St Johnstone Celtic.
I've not even given my opinions on this game yet.
Okay.
Jesus, David, cut me off. Why don't you?
I'm just conscious for time here.
We're
doing all right. We're under an hour still.
Okay.
Such a vast difference for Hearts in it for last season. Cup finalists, top half.
Yeah,
so
weird. Last season as well.
That's the thing. Have things been better without Levine? That's the question.
No, they've not.
Nah, not at all. I mean, it's a pretty simple question to answer. Rangers will go through. I think I agree with your point. I don't think it'll be an easy game for Rangers. I think it'll go down quite late on in the game. I don't think it'll be a big margin. I know you said 4-1, and I can understand your argument to that.
I do.
And I think it's one of the ones where I can completely understand going, Rangers will batter them, but at the same time I feel like Hearts will have that little bit of aggression to make things difficult for Rangers. I think Rangers will be slightly, I don't know, a little bit quieter because of how Wednesday went and such. I think they'll take it a little bit easier, but they'll still do enough to get through. I think it'll be a slim margin, but Rangers will be heading at Hampden, I think, without any question to that. I think they will win the game.
And St Johnstone Celtic, how many goals is it you scored against St Johnstone?
Oh, Jesus.
It was 30 in 6 games, but that might be an outdated stat now. But it's definitely nuts. Celtic need to bounce back.
I'll be there.
Griffiths will come back in, you'd have thought.
Perth.
The thing is, with St Johnstone, although Rangers weren't great last week, St Johnstone probably didn't get the credit they deserved. I think they were, definitely they always looked a threat. The boy Henry up front's decent, and he makes Stevie May look like a competent footballer. So he's got to be good in some form. So
Stevie's on the up, honestly, man.
we talk about him every Monday.
This is what I was saying to Ryan as well a few days ago. Never count anybody out in Scottish football because it will come back to bite you on the ass.
Tony Watt has been fantastic since coming back in the Royal.
Who else we got? Cosgrove.
I mean, he has goals.
There's another one.
Christian Deutsch is a perfect example.
Christian Deutsch.
I
I said he was worse than a man down, and he's now on 17 goals, I believe, for this season.
That's mental, isn't it? Like, you just don't know what's going to happen.
But
it's the same. It's the same with somebody like Griffiths. Wrote off, came back. Now he's one of the most important players.
The thing is with Griffiths, his quality was never written off though. I mean, the thing is with these guys, like
you say that. See, to be fair, see,
I
you say that.
Off Griffiths' quality, we're probably Celtic fans.
That's what I was going to say. You say that his quality was never written off. I think undoubtedly everybody thought his talent was there. But I think a lot of people never thought he'd hit the form again for Celtic. I think it was going to take a step down, but he's shown that he's can do it at this level.
I think Celtic go in this all guns blazing.
Yeah.
But it's a free hit for St Johnstone.
No,
for sure. And in the second half of the Celtic St Johnstone game the other week, although Celtic, kind of laid back, I thought that's the way that the game would have panned out, but I did still fancy Celtic. So this is going to be interesting for sure.
Aye, it will be. I think.
The thing is,
the result last week's changed this up for me a wee bit because if before the draw with Rangers, I'd have said it'll be the same as always. We go up there and we batter them, and by all accounts, I think we're still good enough to do that. But
I think you will.
I know. I think we still, especially taking out the aggression of moving out the Europa League. I think we've got to, make a statement.
I mean, also he can bring Frimpong, Christie, Griffiths, all the rest of them. He can bring like 4 or 5 good players in.
And that's 2 names I'd like to see get a shout this weekend. I'd love to see Kamala and Soro come on.
I think it's too much of a big game now after the defeat to do that.
No, I think maybe if one of the games were up 4-0 with the 60th minute, then shove them on. Just so we can see them. I don't think it will happen, but I would like to. I think we'll go up there and we'll win. I'm not as confident in a battering as what I was the last time I headed up last month. But 2-0 maybe. 2-0 I'd say. Celtic. I think we will just beat. I think we'll beat Hampden once more.
So to quickly run through it, I've got Hibs, St Mirren, Rangers, and Celtic. Dev, what are you thinking?
The exact same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hibs, Aberdeen, Rangers, and Celtic.
Okay, right.
Change it up a tiny bit.
That'll be an interesting set of semi-finals if that was the case. Quickly, there are a few games in the Championship this weekend. A couple of tasty ones, obviously. East End Park, Dunfermline, Dundee United. I won't be there.
Are you not going?
No, I'm way home after this.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Never even told me.
No.
Back to Uzbekistan.
Yeah. So I'm missing that one, but Dunfermline need to. If Dunfermline want to be in the playoffs this season, they need to take a positive result from this game. Mainly because, God, you think Old Firm fans are mental and psychos when your team get beat. Dunfermline fans are the worst, man. Like the absolute panic merchants as soon as something goes wrong. But the way the Championship is, I think we're 4 points off 4th. But like 5 points off, like being proper in danger of getting sucked into the relegation battle.
One of those ones.
Queen of the South are a team as well. They played Morton, who kind of desperately. Queen of the South desperately as a result. They're in danger of relegation. They've been reliant on Stephen Dobie for so long, and now he's not banging the goals in.
The age is trickling in.
Huh?
The age is trickling in.
Yeah, I mean, I find it mental, Stephen Dobie. You remember he came out a couple of years ago and said the only team he'd leave Queens for was Rangers. It's like, well, you're staying at Queen of the South. God.
Why don't you sign him up, Div?
The goals have dried up. Last season he was outstanding.
There was a couple of,
him and Shankland last season.
A few Rangers fans were like, "Oh, maybe we're worth a shout." Like the end of the season.
Maybe if you would take Dougie, you'd take Doobie.
Oh, I would absolutely take Dougie Emery in a heartbeat. What a legend that man is.
You don't know about Div's unproclaimed love for Dougie Emery.
I love Dougie Emery.
Is it like sarcastic love for Dougie?
No, it's actually real.
Genuine.
Love.
Why?
Genuine love.
I just think he's an outstanding football player and man, and he's very handsome.
Is he? He's got no hair left now, has he? He's not bald now.
Aye, but I like that, so.
No, fair enough, that's what you're into. I don't really... So yeah, Dunfermline, Dundee United. I think Dundee United will probably win it because we always get beat by Dundee United. But Lawrence Shankland versus Nisbet, that'll be an interesting wee...
Dundee United's next striker.
Don't even start that nonsense, by the way. That will actually break my heart if Kevin Nisbet goes to Dundee United. I've not been heartbroken by a player for a long time, but that would do it.
Who was the last?
Oh God, let me think. I don't even know actually. Faisal El Bakhtoui, you know the boy left.
El Bakhtoui, aye.
He scored 30 goals for us in League One, went to Dundee, and has been hopeless ever since.
Funny thing is,
he broke my heart.
I started a football manager last year, and I brought him back to Dunfermline.
Did you? Oh well,
that's
a fact for you.
I went to a Dunfermline Falkirk game a couple of years ago now, and I made a video on it. He's won 2-0.
Oh,
Connolly, I think, played well. I think he's at Falkirk now.
Connolly.
Connolly?
Well, yeah, I mean, he didn't.
2-0, honestly, you should watch it. It's quite a
Was
good
that-
clip.
it was
Probably one of my favourite videos ever made.
Through at Falkirk. We
Through at Falkirk, mate, aye, and I
Aye.
was like, I had a wee pass and stuff like that. It was good.
Oh, so you weren't in the. You just seen the scenes in the way end that day.
Oh, I got it on
would've been
record,
tasty.
mate.
Oh, I'll definitely have to give that a watch.
You'll need to get that watch.
But if Aidan Connolly played well, that must have been a very rare occasion because that didn't happen very often. Ryan is currently on his phone because we finished talking about Celtic now. He doesn't care about the
You're
championship.
funny. I'm doing research, have you know?
Oh, are you now?
Aye.
Doing research for a change.
At the end of
Oh,
the
it's
show.
for a change.
So
At the end of the show, he's doing research.
Dundee Arbroath as well as a fascinating game. We've talked about how Arbroath are punching way above their weight. Like, I mean, are they still in the playoffs now? Is there any your research there?
They are still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well.
No, they're not. They're in fifth.
well
I
done,
just thought
Dev.
I thought I'd take a gamble there. I thought I'd take a gamble. And
If you took-
sometimes in life, gambles pay off. Sometimes
Aye,
they don't.
so,
Bet responsibly.
This is a massive game actually because Dundee leapfrogged Arbroath back into the playoffs, but it's at Dens. If Dundee slip up again, man, Dundee have been hopeless all season long. How James McPake is still in a job, I can't get my head around it. Like, you think they should be easily top two.
Get Doran's in the middle of the
But like,
park.
see when look at their team at the start of the season. Like, even like, I know Paul McGowan's not like, but see for that level, he should
Established
be.
Premier League player.
You've got like McGowan, the boy Sean Byrne came from Livingston. He's a good player.
They got Jamie
Doran's a
Ness
good
as
player.
well.
Jamie Ness.
Jamie
is there as well.
Ness.
Jamie Ness still kicking a bit.
Even like
Wow.
Kane Hemmings, Declan McDade, they're good
Aye.
players.
Oh,
like,
they've got cracking
but
players
it's
there.
just not clicked for them at all.
No,
this
that's what I'm
season.
saying. Click of a finger, Stratton could be in charge.
No, that would have happened a long time ago.
I know. I think it's still.
I don't think he's. I think he's honestly
Think
like
he'll
no
go
disrespect, but I
home.
think he'd get a bigger job if he wanted to go back into
Yeah,
management.
yeah. But
That's the thing. How many people are going to be willing after the the controversy?
Dundee's one of those, though. Dundee's a bit of a
I
poison
don't even
chalice,
know
like,
what
it's
the
like-
controversies are, but
with what?
with Stratton.
aye.
You don't know about the controversies?
No.
Oh, do you want to go on record here and
Oh, it's quite public domain.
am I missing something? I think
The
I
whole,
forgot. Maybe I've just missed something.
Was it the thing that was
we'll
on air?
talk about it after this. We'll talk about
Was
it
it when he
after
was
the
on
show.
punditry?
I think it was either on punditry or it was on. I think it was on punditry. In
Aye,
fact.
aye, it is. I know what you're
You know
talking
what I'm
I
talking
don't
about.
have a Scooby-Doo what we're talking about.
Yeah,
We'll
no
have to-
clue.
No, I genuinely
Really?
don't. I'm just going to Google this up. You give me some chat about Arbroath while I Google this.
Arbroath are they're kind of like the Cinderella story of the league, aren't they? I don't know what you've already if you've covered it or not while I was doing my research, but Arbroath's season has been Arbroath's season has been absolutely sensational. I think they should be incredibly proud. And I
Oh,
think
I
they'll
know what
take
you're
the
talking
game.
about now.
You know what I'm talking about now,
I know
aye.
what he's talking about.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Sorry, Gordo. Love
Um,
you still.
Wee Chesney.
Aye,
Yeah,
Chesney.
Arbroath have been the feel-good story of the championship.
Aye.
Dick Campbell there. I
bonnet.
imagine if Arbroath came up, how mental would that be?
I would just
That'd be
love to.
outstanding,
I'd
I'd
love
love
the
that.
best thing. Like,
I
ever.
can't imagine a more heartwarming sight than sitting from my seat at Celtic Park to see somebody in a bonnet.
Oh, the
and
Bonnet
the
man. He's
touchline.
an absolute cult hero of Scottish football. Like, I mean, did you watch Cy Ferry's podcast he did with him?
No, I haven't.
No.
No.
Fantastic.
You've told me, but I've
It's
still
the
not seen it.
best thing ever. You have to give that a watch. But yeah, it's at Dens. The thing is with like Dens Park just now, if Dundee are struggling, the crowd will get on their back, and that'll play into Arbroath's hands. I'd love to see Arbroath win that one.
I think they will. I think they'll
Um,
take the win.
Yeah, I'm not sure they will, but I'd love to see it.
Nah, I'm confident.
It'll be a tough,
I'll remain
tough
on
game
record saying I'm confident.
Speaking of form teams punching above their weight, the form team in the championship just now are the Wasps, Alloa Athletic. He's got a thing for Peter Grant, by the way.
Aye, it's a
Absolute
Celtic
loves Peter
legend.
Grant. But like,
Celtic
it was
legend,
after you
yeah, Peter
spoke to him
Grant.
after that.
Well, he was a lovely guy. He
He
was just he's just a lovely man. He was so kind.
He's always very well dressed.
The way he shook my hand was just. I mean, I've shook.
That's
I'm
not
not.
weird for a couple of Celtic
I've
men
not,
to have
I've
funny
not,
handshakes.
I've not shook a lot of Celtic legends' hands in my time. I mean, probably the top ones will be Lennox, but I mean, Peter Grant was certainly up there. Retract your comments on.
So yeah, they host Ayr, who had a bit of a horrible performance on Tuesday night. Alloa, I really hope Alloa win just because I want Thistle to go down.
You want Thistle to go down?
Yeah.
I don't want them to go
Because I
down.
think if Thistle stay up in the championship,
I
they'll be
feel
strong
so
next
rotten
year.
for
It
him.
might actually be good for Thistle to go down. It gives them a chance to rebuild the way that Falkirk are kind of doing.
Nah,
this
but
season.
personally, I don't see it. But this is the first time I've seen the new specs. The first comparison I got was Ian McCall. But I personally don't see it.
Well, smoke like Ian McCall, so
That's a lie.
yeah, that doesn't happen. God, this is going off the rails this week. God, there's no way more structured to this. We talk proper about the championship, and I'm just slagging off Ryan's specs and stuff. Speaking of League One, what's going on? Falkirk, yeah, as you said, they're rebuilding. They're kind of steamrolling their way to. Well, not steamrolling their way. Between them and Raith, it's very tight. There's only a point in it, but I think
The rest of the
Falkirk
league.
the squad they've got, like, there's so many good players in that Falkirk team. As much as it pains me to say,
Aye.
like guys like McManus, he's flying this season. Like so.
Would you take McManus as the Nisbet replacement?
Well, we've had
from your
McManus
rivals?
before. He was at Dunfermline.
So he's dead, aye. But would you
and-
take him back? Judging off his form right now.
Thing is, when he was there first time round, he always worked hard, but Clark was the goal scorer. I never thought McManus had it in him to be a prolific goal scorer, and he's done that this season. I don't think he's half the player Kevin Nisbet is, but it just depends what's out there.
It's a step up's a big question, isn't it? You know, for
Yeah,
League
well,
One
he's
Championship.
already played at that level before. He just didn't have the goals at that level.
Another one
The
of his
thing is,
cousin, I know.
like Nisbet was at Thistle, and he got chucked at Thistle because he wasn't doing it. Went to Wraith, scored 30, and now he's flying. So
Aye.
sometimes a season in League One is all these players need just to get a bit of confidence back. And for the whole Falkirk team, that'll be because Falkirk got so many players they're Championship players, Championship players who weren't in form, and now this will sort of.
They should never have been a club that went down to that level. I mean,
No.
it was quite a collapse
It was
to go down
fantastic to
there.
watch.
Oh, it would
They
be.
play Clyde, Wraith go to Dumbarton. The way this league's gone, it's like you can't separate the two of them, and it'll probably be the same again after this weekend. Yeah, it'll be an interesting end to that season. The thing is, Wraith play Falkirk pretty soon, and I really wanted to go, but it's a bloody Tuesday night, man.
I
See,
was
if
looking
was
at
a
that game as
Saturday,
well,
3
mate.
o'clock,
Aye.
like, that would be a
You
sellout.
have
Like,
college on a
everyone would
Wednesday
watch
morning,
that.
son.
Oh, aye, yeah. And for radio. And then League 2 finally.
Well, we discussed last week. League Two's done, innit?
We were going to put on the title.
Cove.
Yeah, we were thinking about putting on the title for the last podcast because the podcast I did with the title "The League Is Over" it was like the most viewed podcast. Like, should we do it again? Just for the views, just for the views. But no, Cove are. Listen, I've raved about Cove all season long, and they're finally pulling away, which is.
I mean, they've got players like Fraser Five in the middle of the park.
Aye.
Oh, man.
They've got investment behind them, innit? So
Absolutely,
the minute you do that, you've got McAllister up front, you've got 5 in there.
Mitch Megginson as well.
Aye,
goal
Mitch
machine.
Megginson.
I've heard
players.
whispers that the juniors are supposed to be, teaming up and getting themselves into a wee pyramid to try and get up into the Scottish.
Oh, that'll be-
You have,
that'll be
yeah.
interesting.
That will be interesting.
Because it
It's
was-
just with the emergence of, I mean, if you go to the juniors for a minute, if you look at teams like Pollock,
Yeah.
Auchinleck, the fan bases that they've got,
And the way they do it in the cup
is
every year,
outstanding.
Auchinleck especially.
absolutely.
Auchinleck
And
have
they've
just
got the
had
fan
always pops up,
bases,
innit?
and I think they stay in the junior systems for, the money. It's obviously better and it's more fruitful.
Aye,
But
it brings the
look at the
fans in.
teams like Cove Rangers and Edinburgh City recently, getting themselves into the football pyramid and they're flying.
But there was
Maybe
such a
bit
long, there was a
investment
long
behind them.
period of time where teams didn't want to go up. There was a couple of teams in the Highland League that didn't want to go up. I think like Brona.
Because it's
were
money,
one of
innit?
them. Yeah, they were like, it's not really going to be worth our while having to travel all the way down there. We'll end up not better off. So Cove took obviously Cove had the big investment when they were in the Highland League that the plan was this is what they're going to do. I think they've got a wee link up with Aberdeen as well. Getting a couple. I think they train. I think they do a bit of training on Aberdeen's training ground as well. I don't know what, but they've had a couple of young boys on loan as well. The thing is with Cove though, you look at their support is not there. Like the juniors clubs have that.
Exactly.
Cove
So
don't.
there's
So the potential
there's
for these junior
leverage.
clubs is absolutely they've got the potential to go up.
By the way, things have gone at Aberdeen. People might switch allegiances.
maybe.
They're complaining they're there.
And finally, I want to touch on Brecon really quickly. Mark Wilson at Brecon. I would be devastated if Brecon went down. Just because it's a ground I've never been to, but I've heard it's like one of the best proper old-fashioned grounds. Like remember when Rangers went there and the ball got stuck in the head?
Yeah.
Stuff like that's just peak Scottish football. Like, so I'll be pretty devilled if they go down. They've got Stirling this weekend, but they need to kind of.
That's been torrid for Wilson.
They need to pick up. Is he still on Super Scoreboard?
Aye.
Yeah.
Is he?
Still on
Is he getting pelters?
They don't really bring it up, do they?
No,
They just kind of
no.
they start off. They kind of glimpse at the start of the
Well,
shows.
I mean, you
and
should
then-
I
know,
went
Ryan,
to the
'cause
Super
according to-
Scoreboard quiz and he had a game the next day and he was still at the quiz. It was about 10:30,
my
11 at
God.
night. And
Did you see the comment we had in the last video? Ryan got a bit of stick. Remember the comment about the SSB?
Oh, aye. I know. This.
what about Hugh Keevans?
No,
Some guy
no.
said that Ryan just regurgitated
Aye,
points here.
he says. Somebody says I got to take the points off at Hero Super Scoreboard. When I actually quoted the quote that I took for the Super Scoreboard and said I agree with the point, it was the only point I brought up from the whole
You
show.
didn't help yourself by saying Hugh Keevans was your hero the week before.
He is my
though.
hero.
Oh my god. You just want to be the new Specky Tube. That's
Dougie
me.
Emery's my hero. So
Who's my hero? So
I know.
Hugh
I'd like-
Keevans, Dougie Emery. Who do I like? I don't know.
Dick Campbell.
Dick Campbell. Dick Campbell's my
Dick
hero.
Campbell.
There you go.
And that pretty much does it, boys.
Aye, fantastic.
They've been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, boys.
Top guest.
I'm sure we'll take advantage of Celtic being rubbish again. I'll give you a call at some point. Like, right,
I
we'll
know.
just
We
wind
need
up
to have
by-
you on for a wee old firm debate when it comes to the 15th.
Absolutely. I'll
That
be
would
down
be a-
anytime, boys.
That could be tasty.
Aye.
So yeah, as per usual, like, subscribe, all that carry on. You find all our socials. Div's socials will be on the graphic.
Yep.
I'm going to challenge
Add them
Ryan to
in
make
this
a new
week.
graphic.
You never given my graphic this morning. Scottish
Oh,
Cup
I know.
predictions.
It's a nightmare, isn't it?
An absolute nightmare.
No. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll be back on
It should be what?
Monday, Tuesday. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you later. Cheers.